It's good to have you back. This is PrepStation History SSC tutorial. Okay, let's have a recap of what we learned. We talked about Islam in West Africa, the spread of Islam. I explained to you how the last thing I said the political administration, how Islam helped in the growth of political administration in empires. Okay, now we have a new topic. Early European contact in Africa. Please take note, early European contact in Africa. The first European contact that was heard in West Africa. Now, it is in West Africa. Please take note of this, not just Africa, but in West Africa. The first Europeans that came in contact with West Africa, with Nigeria first, were the Portuguese. In fact, in all of the West Africa, both in Ghana, Senegal, all the countries, is the Portuguese. The Portuguese were the first Europeans to come to West Africa. And when they came majorly they wanted to explore, maybe do trade by the side. So please take note of this. It says, European sailors first reached sub-Saharan Africa in 1442. That was the 15th century. When Portuguese ships reached the Senegal River, the Portuguese had been sailing the coast of Morocco and Western Sahara since 1413. So please, you need to take notes. In history, date is very important. So these are all stories I want you to read up. Please read up. Let's go to the next slide. For the next 150 years, West African rulers and traders came across the Portuguese more than any other European nation. There were also smaller trading missions led by the English and the French, but they were less frequent. In the beginning, the Portuguese main motivations were interest in the extensive gold production. So there was it was gold that brought them first to explore the land and all that. People had heard of Africa. Africa was hidden, the dark continent. What is happening here? So the Portuguese were the first people to come to West Africa before other European countries came. All right. Competition with the Ottoman Empire. Which country is present-day Ottoman Empire? Do you know the country? Present-day Ottoman Empire is Turkey. Present-day Ottoman Empire is Turkey. So, number one, competition with the Ottoman Empire to access this gold. You read up. Number two, prompting a crisis in Christian Europe. Please, prompting a crisis in Christian Europe. 3, the desire to find a trade route to markets in India around the Capes of Good Hope. 4, ever increasingly the trade in enslaved persons. Enslaved persons. So please take note of this. Take note of this. When the Portuguese came, the first place they came to in Nigeria was Benin. Please take note of this. The first place the Portuguese came to in Nigeria, it was Benin. So I need you to be aware of this. Okay, we have our questions. It says, Europeans knew about the history of West Africa before the 15th century through dash. How did they know about Africa? What is your answer about West Africa? Let's see. B, the writings of Arab scholars. The writings of Arab scholars. The writings of Arab scholars. Okay, 39. Europeans' early contact with the people of West Africa was to dash. Was it to promote African culture? No. Find the remains of dead Europeans? No. Train the youth for subsistence farming? No. What is the answer? Establish trade relations. Establish trade relations. D. Now, first of all, they came to explore their land. Before they can do trade, they need to know where they are coming to. They need to know the terrains. They need to know the land. They need to know the people. So, inasmuch it was the explorers that came first before the traders. So they came to explore, know the land, meet the people, look if this land will be good for business or for trade. So take note, establish trade relations. 40. Which of the following European group did not participate in civilizing mission in West Africa? If you go back to okay, let's say British contact with Nigeria. You know that story, that topic is in your JSS3 history topic. If you go back to your JSS3 history topic, those of you that did history in junior school, in fact, all of you did history in junior school, so you should know this topic. We talked about the 3 people that came in contact with Nigeria. We had what? The explorers, the traders, and the missionaries. I've just given you the answer. So the answer here is industrialists. Industrialists. Nothing like this. A is the answer. Let's go. The political objective of European contact with the West Africans was dash. Establish mission schools? No. Establish colonies and colonize the people? Maybe, I don't know. Let's go. C. Open up trading activities with the people? D. Seek for employment in the courts of rulers? No. So what is the answer? Let's go. B. Establish colonies and colonize the people. Now, we can't talk about European contact with West Africa without somehow talking about the transatlantic slave trade. There are some things, it is the contact that led towards the trade. So first of all, the contact took place. They found that, oh, this land was good. Wow, we could do business. And that led to the transatlantic trade. So please take note. The answer is B, establish colonies. Colonies were established after the abolition of slave trade. Please take note of this. When slave trade was abolished in the 18th, 19th century, that was when colonies were established. You remember, we talked about, it was in government, we talked about the Scramble for Africa. Remember the Scramble for Africa, the Berlin Conference, where Africa was partitioned and all that. That was how the colonization of Africa began. But first of all, the abolition of slave trade took place. All right. One negative effect of European contact with West Africa was that it led to what? You know the answer. Introduction of the transatlantic slave trade. We said a negative effect. That is it. The early European contact was one of the things that led to the transatlantic slave trade. The first stage of the triangular slave trade witnessed goods being brought to West Africa from dash. Let's see the answer. Now, what do we call the triangular slave trade? Which one is the triangular slave trade? What are we talking about? We are talking about the transatlantic slave trade. Please take note of this. B, the Americas. The Americas. The European nationals who first witnessed the history of West Africa were the dash. We've said it. They're asking you here. This question is not, it may sound tricky. They're asking you, who were the first Europeans to come to West Africa? That's the question here. We already know the answer, the Portuguese. The Portuguese. Next question. One important reason for the coming of the early Europeans to West Africa was dash. What's the answer? Okay, let's see. D. Open up trade with the people of the region. I said it earlier on. They came to look at the land, to look if they are able. First, they came to explore. After exploring, is trade, to do business with the people. So D is the answer. A positive social impact of the European presence on the West African coast was the dash. The answer is the introduction of slave trade? No. Promotion of legitimate trade? We'll see. Introduction of Western currency? Let's check out the answer. The answer is B. B, Western education. Western education. The Europeans brought Western education into West Africa and also Nigeria. The coastal traders resisted European penetration because penetration into the interior of West Africa because the Europeans were dash. Let's see, what's the answer? C is the answer. What displaces them from the middleman position? You know, it will displace them from the middleman position. Please take note of this. C is the answer. One benefit that the West Africans gained from their contacts with the Europeans was the dash. D is your answer. Christianity. European contact into West Africa brought the spread of Christianity. D is the answer. The major reason for the European presence in West Africa was what? Is economic interest. Please take note of this. Their plan was to do business. It has nothing to do with education. Education came later on. It was the missionaries that brought education. Please, not the traders or the explorers. The missionaries were the ones that brought education into West Africa. So B is your answer. The initial reason for the coming of Europeans to West Africa was to dash. We've said this a lot of time. C, search for a new sea route to India. Search for a new sea route to India. Please take note. The answer is C. Some early European travelers feared to settle in some areas of West Africa because, what's the answer? Let's see. A says, of the existence of numerous religious conflicts, of the existence of traditional education system. The climate was very hostile to them. There were no available social amenities. Let's check the answer. C is the answer. C is the answer. The climate was hostile. You know, when these explorers came, some of them died as a result of what you would call minor sicknesses like malaria and typhoid at that time. So the weather was harsh. They were not used to such weather. So C is the answer. The first Europeans that came to West Africa mainly with the people of Dash. Who did they wanted to trade with? What's your answer? I told you that the first people to come to West Africa were the Portuguese. To Nigeria was the Portuguese. And they came in contact with which people? With the people from Benin. So now, The people from Benin, which region can we classify them here? Which region? Let's see. Let's check our answer. A, coastal areas. Coastal areas. Most of the people, when the Portuguese came, they came through the sea. So all the countries they visited in West Africa, majorly they came through the sea. So places that have coastal areas are the places that will be accessible for them to go to come to first, because they are coming through the sea. Please take note of this. One of the effects of European contact on West African states was that they dash. What is your answer? Let's see. One of the effects of European contact on West African states was that they became European colonies. So once they capture a place, they make sure that place, they make it a colony, an extension. When we say a colony, it's an extension of the country that has captured that place. Like Lagos was captured in 1851. It became an extension of the British colony in 1861. So please take note of this. D is your answer. The Europeans came to West Africa in the 15th century for all the following reasons except dash. Let's see. Introduction of Christianity. That was not, I told you, it was the missionaries that brought Christianity. The major reasons they came was for trade. It was for trade. So C is your answer. The West Africans were opposed to European penetration into the hinterland because of dash. Okay, let's see this. It says, did not want them to build churches there, wanted to maintain their middleman position in the trade, did not want them to know about their secret societies. What do you think is the answer? All right. The answer is actually B. Take note. B is your answer. Let's go to the next slide. One social effect of the early European contact with West Africa was the dash. All right, let's see. D, empowerment of indigenous industries. Empowerment of indigenous industries. The railway stations, railway trails were built during the colonial period to transport goods from here to Europe. So, empowerment of indigenous industries. The palm industries, and name them. So please take note of this. The goods sold to the West Africans by the early Europeans included all the following except dash. What is our answer? Grains. Grains. Remember, we already had grains here. They brought things like mirror, copper, gun, name them. So the answer is C, grains. Grains. Okay. All the following were factors that enabled the Portuguese to take the lead in the exploration of West Africa in the 15th century, except dash. C, low technological advancements in their country. Please, the answer is C. Remember, I want to reiterate, take note that the Portuguese came to West Africa in the 15th century. Yes, you may be wondering, is it not 14 something? It is in the 15th century. Please take note. History students, you shouldn't be surprised. You should be used to this by now. You should be used to your dates. All right, let's continue. All the following were effects of the European contact with West Africa, except dash. The answer is B, expansion of the indigenous industry. B, there was nothing like that. The industries that were formed or created at that time was to transport goods and services from Africa, West Africa to Europe. So, except, look at the answer. B is the answer, please. The Europeans encouraged the cultivation of cash crops in West Africa to dash. What were their reasons? Let's see. A, discourage West Africans from trading in slaves. To discourage slave trade. So they had to bring a legitimate trade. Part of the legitimate trade was cultivation of cash crops. What cash crops do we have? Palm oil was a cash crop at that time. Palm oil was cultivated and exported to Europe to make soap and other things. So cultivation of cash crops is the answer. A, to discourage slave trade. Okay, we're going to go for a break. We'll be coming back shortly. Stay back and we'll continue shortly. Take care.